Hello once again. Welcome to our channel. Please subscribe. For those who are not yet subscribed, please hit subscribe. It will help us and it's a big help to us as a content creator. Now, at this moment, we will about to discuss about the ROTC in the Philippines. Is ROTC already mandatory in the Philippines? What is the status of ROTC? Anyway, let's also identify what is ROTC, Reserve Officers Training Corps. The ROTC is tasked to train and develop college students in the rudiments of military service in order to produce capable armed forces of the Philippines reservists. So that's the meaning of ROTC, and its main reason or objective. Another thing that we must understand about why we need reservists, this is the statistic based on 2021 Philippines Military Strength Global Firepower.com Higher AFP Reserve Force. The available for military service in the Philippines as of 2021 is 46,947,750. The age bracket of that numbers are 18 to 56. But the fit for military service out of 46 million is only 38 million 497 and 155. But allow me to give emphasis and please take note. The active personnel in the Philippines as of 2020 compared to the numbers fit for military service out of 38 million plus the active personnel is only 140,000 as of 2020. So the Philippines is ranked 35th. And the reserve personnel of the Philippines is 360,000. Army, Navy, Air Force, ready reserves. And the total reservist is 770,000. Imagine, just compare the number of active personnel plus reserve personnel, there's no 1 million out of 38 million. Imagine that. So, take note of that. That's why I give emphasis on that. And also, let us compare this statistics of the Philippines to other countries. Which country has number one? Army. It's the China. Imagine, the active personnel of China is 2.19 million active personnel. And the active personnel of India, United States, North Korea, Russia, over 1 million. But let us compare our country to our nearest neighbor, which is China. Imagine 140,000 compared to 2.1 million of China. That's the active personnel. How much more? Their reservist. Our reservist is only 770,000. Imagine. So, I will let you think if we need reservists. I will let you think in case of emergency what will happen to our country. Also, what is the legal basis of ROTC in the Philippines? Under the Commonwealth Act No. 1 or the National Defense Act of 1935, the National Defense Policy says that the preservation of the state is an obligation of every citizen. Did you notice that? Hence, Section 35 of the Act mandates the establishment of the Reserve Officers Training Course. So, that's the legal basis of ROTC. It's not illegal, actually. So, in fact, what is the Republic Act of ROTC? Reserve Officer Training Course is a program institutionalized under Sections 38 and 39 of Republic Act number 7077, designed to provide military training to tertiary level students in order to motivate, train, organize, and mobilize them for national defense preparedness. There's no mention in this certain Republic Act that all citizens are obliged to become a military personnel. No, no, no. It's only ROTC's objective is only to motivate, train, organize, mobilize, to prepare every citizen for national defense preparedness, especially if there is a war. Oh, ROTC is very useful in every citizen. Another fact also that we must understand regarding the ROTC, it will also instill discipline and courtesy to every students, citizen in this country. But why is ROTC being removed in the Philippines? As we all know, or FYI for those who does not know, the mandatory ROTC was abolished in 2002, 20 years ago, after the death of University of Santo Tomas student Mark Chua, whose killing was linked to his expose on the anomalies in the training course. You know, this is only an isolated case, I think. But imagine, 20 years ago, it was abolished, the ROTC. But what is the role of ROTC in strengthening the national security? The objective of ROTC is to prepare students in the armed forces of the Philippines whenever there are threats in national security. To prepare, students will be a part of the reserve corps whenever these threats will happen. So, what if there are threats in our national security? What if our students doesn't have any knowledge about military? How can they defend themselves, even our country? How would they help? That's only some of questions that we must think of. Another thing also, are ROTC cadets considered military? That's where others are afraid of. The thinking of others is, if there would be an ROTC, they would oblige to join the army. No. The question is, are ROTC cadets considered military? No. Students who enroll in ROTC don't join the army. They take an ROTC class for which they receive credit. It's considered a college elective. You're not an army. You must remember that. What is the help of ROTC to mold a good Filipino citizen? ROTC will mold them to become good citizens who will uphold the Constitution and defend the nation's sovereignty from foreign aggression. That was being said by Valenzuela. He also gave emphasis that students who undergo ROTC training program will have the potential to become future leaders of the armed forces of the Philippines, AFT. Which is, we need that. Is ROTC necessary? Others might ask, do we need it? Is it necessary? ROTC is an important, relevant, practical experience to consider when building skills you'll need in future employment as well as in life. That's the importance of ROTC. So from the question, is ROTC necessary? Absolutely. Yes, it is important. ROTC is very important. I repeat, ROTC is very important. Does the Philippines have mandatory military service? Conscription in the Philippines has been implemented on several points in the country's history. As of 2022, no mandatory conscription is in effect in the Philippines, and military service is entirely voluntary as stated in the 1987 Constitution. But lawmakers push reinstatement of mandatory ROTC as of July 7, 2022. That's the news. Do you know that some senators are determined to revive the Reserve Officers Training Course program as a mandatory subject for Filipino students? Reviving the ROTC, Senator Francis Tolentino said on Thursday, would instill discipline, a sense of leadership, teamwork, and patriotism among the youth. That's the very important role of ROTC. And House OK's mandatory ROTC for grade 11 and grade 12. House approves mandatory ROTC for grades 11 and 12, public and private schools, on third and final reading. Notably, the program would be conducted during the youth's formative years, thus molding them at a prime age to be nationalistic citizens prepared to uphold the Philippines Constitution, according to Senator Tolentino. He said also that this would be also very helpful in the government's campaign for disaster response, preparedness, and would play a significant role in times of calamities and disaster relief operations. Also, he mentioned Senator Tolentino, who is a Brigadier General of the Philippine Army Reserve, cited a provision under the 1987 Constitution saying the prime duty of the government is to serve and protect the people. The government may call upon the people to defend the state, and in the fulfillment thereof all citizens may be required under conditions provided by law to render personal, military, or civil service. To truly enjoy democracy and our independence as a nation, we should ensure the country's freedom and safety. He gave emphasis on that. Also, both Senators Robin Padilla and Ronald De La Rosa included the revival of mandatory ROTC in their respective top 10 priority bills for the 19th Congress. De La Rosa said in a recent interview, his ROTC bill, the top 2 among his priority measures, is a milder version compared to the mandatory 2-year military service being pushed by Vice President Sara Duterte. The former Philippine National Police Chief's version of the mandatory ROTC program, none other than Senator Bato de la Rosa, if passed into law, will be introduced in grades 11 and 12 in both public and private schools, while an advanced ROTC program will be available in the first 2 years of higher education for those who want to become officers. Sara Duterte has been hoping that the revival of ROTC will be included in President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s priority legislative agenda. So the DepEd, under the Secretary, BP Sara Duterte, supports return of mandatory ROTC. You know, there are celebrities like Colin Perez. This is what I want to give emphasis. Do you know there are celebrities who join the military voluntarily, like in other countries? In our country, there is no mandatory military service. But even there is no mandatory military service, these celebrities joined the military because of patriotism. Like Colin Perez, R.C. Munoz, imagine, she is a woman, but he chose to join the military. Beauty Gonzalez, imagine that. He knows how to use, not only to hold, but to use a gun. So she knows how to use and hold. So during war, I think Beauty Gonzales definitely would help to defend our country. Dingdong Dantes, Gerald Anderson, also J.M. de Guzman. In addition, Herbert Bautista. He is a general, I think, reservist. Ronnie Liang. Also, Rocco Nasino, Navy. These are celebrities. Of course, Manny Pacquiao, Mateo Guidicelli. He also joined the army. A.G. Falcon, Christopher De Leon, Dieter Ocampo. I think Dieter Ocampo is a officer. You know, those celebrities who joined the military have proven their wholehearted and patriotic love for their home country as they enlisted in the armed forces of the Philippines as reserve officers. How brave, gallant, and dedicated they are as Filipinos. They would certainly inspire more citizens to follow in their footsteps and volunteer to serve the country by enlisting as a military, Navy, or Air Force reserve. You know which countries with mandatory military service as of 2022? The color green, those have mandatory military service. But in the Philippines, there is no military service and there's no conscription up to this date. Most nations in the world have some form of military. However, the methods used to fill the ranks of those armed forces vary from one country to the next. Primary methods of recruitment include the following: voluntary enlistment, mandatory service, conscription or draft, selective compulsory service, de jure compulsory service, combinations. You know, South Korea amended its compulsory conscription law in 2020 to enable globally relevant entertainers such as K-pop group BTS, whose members would soon be forced to quit the group to serve their time in the military, to defer their 18 to 21 months of service until age 30. Imagine. This group is a globally well-known group. But despite of that, they will join the military just to serve and defend their country in time of aggression. These are countries with mandatory military service: Algeria, Angola, Argentina, Armenia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Belize, Benin, Bhutan, Bolivia, Brazil, up to China, Colombia, Congo, Cuba, Ethiopia, Georgia, Greece, Guatemala. Imagine. And also Guinea, Indonesia, Iran, Israel 24 to 48 months. Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Lithuania, Mali, Mexico, Moldova, Mongolia, Morocco, Mozambique, Myanmar, Burma, Niger, North Korea, Norway, Paraguay, Portugal, Qatar, Russia, San Marino, Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, Singapore, Slovakia, Somalia, South Korea, South Sudan, Spain, Sudan, Sweden, Switzerland, Syria, Taiwan, Tajikistan, Tanzania, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Tunisia, Turkey. There are so many countries in the world that have mandatory military service. In our country, we're just the government officials, the elected ones, just want to impose the ROTC. We should not against about the implementation of ROTC. Speaking of women in the military, you know, in a male-dominated field, women are firstly breaking this stereotype and leading the Philippine Army towards greatness. One after another, the achievements of women in the Army are surfacing, and they prove to be a valuable asset in carrying out the Army's mission. For example, in the year 2020, PMA Masidlawin class, there are 5 female cadets make it to the top 10. Imagine. This is true. Being a soldier is not easy, and being a woman in this field leads to many responsibilities not many of us can take, but these Army women show their excellence in their units and in serving the people in our country. Women rising up to the challenges and dominating not only prove the women's excellence, they also serve as an inspiration to other women in the Philippine Army and young women of the new generation that they can lead and do the work just as good as the male. For example, Lieutenant Colonel Leia Santiago, dare to dream it. Dare to dream and do it. She is also a graduate of Philippine Military Academy class of 1997, the class with the first batch with females in the PMA history as summa cum laude. Imagine, she was able to command and supervise a total of 645 fire missions in support of the maneuver units in Sulu province that contributed to the neutralization of 3 Abu Sayyaf group members and permitted the voluntary surrender of 3 rebels. Not only, Lieutenant Santiago, Major Sharon Gomez Orbon, a woman known as babaeng mandirigma, the first female battalion executive officer. She experienced real battle in the campaign against the terrorists in Lanao del Sur and Lanao del Norte. You know, we have the first female general, Brigadier General Ramon Napalabrigago. She holds Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, commanding officer of the Army Aviation Battalion, and the first woman to command a flying unit in the armed forces. These 3 women, Major, Lieutenant Colonel, and General, are committed to their duty, causing them to shine even in an environment dominated by men. They are just the first of many more women that will bring honor to the Philippine Army and will lead us to a better nation. They truly serve as an inspiration. You know, the best practices observed in military is the brotherhood. All men are created equal, and then few become brothers. No one left behind. Just want to give emphasis of this. The one that I being mentioned earlier. Imagine, 38 million our sources, but we have only 140,000 active and 770,000 reservists. Compared to China, India, United States, millions of active personnel they have. What will happen to our country during an aggression or war? The contribution of not only ROTC but military to the development of individual, military courtesy, military discipline, camaraderie, brotherhood, patriotism, professionalism, love of the country. Let us check the pictures in the right side. My brother to my left, my brother to my right. Together we stand, together we fight. Brotherhood. He's not heavy, he's my brother. There are so many that we can learn, not only from ROTC, but also in military. It's a big help, the military personnel. Brigada Eskwela, COVID-19 pandemic, rescue and relief operations. We can hold on to the military. Once again, thank you so much. May God bless each and every one of us.